In strategy Quant X, there are two options to generate strategies, the first being the genetic evolution and the second one being random generation. In this video, I'm going to explain the genetic evolution. There are a lot of settings, so we're going to cover population, generation, evolution, crossover, mutation, islands, and fresh blood. Hi friends, if we haven't met, my name is Lisa, a data scientist turned algorithmic trader. And the concepts here will be based on Charles Darwin's work on evolutionary biology. Now, this won't be a complete biology lessons, but at a high level, what Charles Darwin said is that we all start at little blobs millions and millions of years ago. And as we adapted and changed, we see different branches and different animals and plants evolve over time. So first, we're seeing little simple life forms that have slight differences, but as we go further and further, after millions and millions of years, we start seeing more diversity in terms of specialized animals that are specifically designed to adapt to a certain environment. So similar to the evolutionary biology theory, the purpose of the genetic evolution is to find strategies that are profitable for a particular instrument on a particular time frame over a particular set of dates. Just like we have in the real world where we have land animals and sea creatures, different instruments and different currencies have different behavior. The first concept and most basic is the term population. So a population consists of individual strategies and each member of the population is one strategy. For example, you have a collection of 100 strategies. If we use a simple picture to illustrate this, let's say we have 4 blobs here. Each blob has different characteristics. This blob has 2 eyes, this blob has 2 hands, this blob has a tail, and this blob has hair. The next concept we need to understand is a generation. So each generation contains one population, for example, the 100 strategies that we were talking about before. And the first generation is created randomly. After that, the next generations are created using crossover and mutation, which we'll get to later. Back to our picture. So this, for example, is a generation 1, which contains our population. To get from generation 1 to generation 2, there are 2 methods we can use. The first one is crossover, and the second option is mutation. Let's look at crossing first. Crossing is selecting 2 strategies and combining them. For example, if you have a population of 100, then when you combine them, you have 50 pairs. It's important to remember that not all strategies are used in this crossover method. Only the best is used, and it can be used multiple times. If we look back at our example, in generation 1, we've got eyes, arms, a tail, and hair. And if we mix and match them in generation 2, for example, this one now has eyes and hair. This one has hair and arms. This one has arms and tails. The most useful one you'll notice is arms, which is great for survival. So you can see arms is repeated across different strategies. The most useless one potentially here is a tail, might not be used at all. The second method to go from generation 1 to generation 2 is through mutation. So this changes the logic of a strategy. For example here, instead of 2 eyes, maybe having 1 eye is better for survival. Instead of having 2 hands, maybe having 1 arm and 1 leg is better. Instead of maybe using a small tail, a big tail is better. Instead of black hair, maybe blue hair is better. The next concept is evolution. So evolution has a predefined maximum number of generations, for example 100, and if no better strategies are found after a number of generations, it will restart again with random generation. In our example, we're starting off with our first population in generation 1, and in generation 2, we're using crossover and mutation to get generation 2, and after more and more generations, the final result will look very different to the first initial population. If the final strategies are good, then we keep them. If they're not that great and are not profitable in our current instrument, in our current time frame, over our current data period, then we throw them out and start again from the top. Next, we have the concept of islands. Here we are grouping different evolutionary paths in separate, distinct islands. Within each island, the population here is evolving and changing within itself. However, sometimes you get an island that is stuck. For example, this island here, we might be looking for an animal that can survive in the sea. And even though these monkeys are very cute, it doesn't matter what we do to these monkeys in an evolutionary perspective. These monkeys will not be able to survive if we just throw them into the sea. So that's why these separate islands also share information. So these monkeys here might adapt and grab gills from evolution 2 or flippers from evolution 4. So these hybrid monkeys might be better at adapting and living on the open sea. The last concept is fresh blood. Again, we're using the concept of islands, and let's say again we are looking for an animal that will live and breathe in the open sea. This island here is pretty much doomed because these monkeys will not do well. The idea of fresh blood is we're going to totally replace it. We'll take out this monkey and introduce something totally new, totally different. So this dinosaur in the mix might improve the chances of all these animals here being able to adapt to the current market conditions. Before we go on, let me tell you about DarwinX Zero. If you're not familiar with them, they are a platform designed to reward good traders. You can get a simulated 100k account to trade and earn money from your trading. So currently there are a total of 4 different ways to make money on DarwinX. In the silver stage, you can get between 30 to 375k in allocation and you get to keep it for 3 months. In the gold stage, where you can receive up to 500k and keep it for 6 months. And then investor capital, where you can get into the millions and millions of dollars. And lastly, the 100k permanent allocation. You've got 2 options here. You've got the instant allocation and the performance-based allocation. And these 4 different options are stackable. So you can get silver, gold, investor capital, and permanent allocation all in one account. I've personally been trading with DarwinX for a year and a half. I've received multiple payouts from them and made it to Darwinia Gold. If you're a trader and want to make some extra money, then I have a discount code below if you decide to sign up. Thanks DarwinX for sponsoring this video. Let's take all those concepts that I've just gone through and take a look at the genetic options within the builder in Strategy Quant X. We've got the initial population size per island set at 100, the maximum number of generations set to 100, crossover, which means when it goes from generation 1 to generation 2, what probability of crossover and what probability of mutation from generation 1 to the subsequent generations. On the top right, we've got the number of islands. Now, I don't recommend having this number too high because you need a super powerful PC in order to have a lot of islands. So keep this fairly low at like 4 or 5. The 2 bottom fields under island options means how much data is being shared between the islands. You can have a filter to say the very first generation that is created, I want that to be profitable. That is totally your choice. Personally, I'm okay with having unprofitable strategies initially because after a few generations and at the end, at the evolution part, you might have a profitable strategy. At the bottom, we've got fresh blood, where dud strategies might get replaced by brand new strategies. And lastly, evolution management. So after a number of generations, if we don't find anything better, then just throw them away and start again from scratch. Building strategies with Strategy Quant X is hard, but you can make it easier with the use of templates, which means instead of using genetic evolution or random strategy development, we use intelligent design. And I found this totally free template and I was able to find a profitable strategy with it. If you want to see that video, then click here. Thanks for watching. Bye.